You know that feeling when you try to do something that you've done a bunch before and it just doesn't work, and you just keep trying and trying and trying, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to work. No matter what you do, or how much effort you put in, or how easy the task seems, you just keep ending up at square one, back at the base, having to completely restart and try everything all over again. Then the stars align, and you finally see the answer, the solution, the end of the road, and you realize how simple it was, and how it was staring at you the whole time. But then you realize it's super messy, and a pain in the ass. This video is about woodworking. More specifically, I lost my shop in Hurricane Helene, and I'm moving to a new shop and learning how to remodel it. To start things off, I had to remove all of the lights that were already hanging and just didn't work. And there was a couple outlets there that just didn't work, and I had to remove any tape and all the crap that was hanging there. So that way we could start the long and tedious process of fixing every single tape joint. Every single one was messed up. And there was holes everywhere. All of the drywall was damaged. And we had to slowly mud it and sand it, so that way we could eventually paint it and it'll look halfway decent. Alright, as you can see above me, the tape looks bad. It's all bubbled. So two issues. Didn't mix the mud good enough because I didn't have my paddle with me, but I couldn't find it at my shop, so I just bought a new one. And then second of all, the the mud dried before I put the tape on. So I'm gonna just rip this all down, resand it, and then I'm gonna mud tape as I'm going, and then hopefully that works better. And then I just got a lot of sanding to do, and then I'm gonna install the light. Then I'm gonna go home and edit for the rest of the day. So yeah, clearly I am what you would call, how do you put this? Bad at drywall, and I really don't like it, and I've not really done it much, and it just sucks in so many ways, and I was trying to be lazy, and it bit me in the butt. I would like to formally apologize for how bad the camera quality is in this video, but for reasons that should be extremely obvious, there is no lights anywhere, so the camera is just really bad. With that said, hanging this specific light was like stubbing your toe. Like, you saw that step coming, but when you hit it with your toe, you still shed a silent tear. Now, I certainly shed a couple tears when these eye bolts kept ripping out, and I kept thinking it was the anchors or something, but then I just realized the drywall was flawed to begin with. It was just like that step that you stub your toe on. That step clearly had a vendetta against you and jumped way out of its way just for you to bonk your toe on it. But eventually I figured it out and ended up being able to get the light to hang, and fingers crossed it won't fall down in a couple months. You can't see anything now. Now it's time to mix up some more mud. There's that new paddle bit I bought, and my pulse sander hadn't showed up yet, so I just had to sand it to the best of my ability. Now these videos are going to be pretty different from the videos that I'm going to have once the shop's done. Like all these time lapses. I'm usually not a big fan of throwing in time lapses in my videos, but they're oddly satisfying when I'm doing all this demo and this specific type of construction. But really nothing about these videos is going to be the same besides my voiceover and me. So stick around for the new videos that are coming soon. I got a lot of really cool commissions in the last couple of weeks, and there's going to be some sweet videos coming out. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and comment down something fun. Now this next section of drywall that I had to repair, I have to give a warning to everybody watching this. This is terrible. This is probably the worst work I've ever done on camera. So feel free to destroy me in the comments. So I started out by trying to do a hot patch, which is something I saw on a TikTok, as embarrassing as that is to say, but I couldn't really get sick because the mud was too heavy and pulled it down. So then I just tried to tape it, which was way worse and took way longer, and it just completely fell because of all the weight of the mud. So yeah, that was very embarrassing. But here's what I ended up doing to ultimately fix it. First, I squared off the hole, and then I put in a big old chunk of 2x4, screwed it down, and that gave me something solid to screw on a new patch of drywall. And then I mudded everything, scraped it off, went ahead and put some tape on. Not sure if that was necessary, but I went for it, and then re-mudded everything over that tape. And clearly this worked significantly better, but let me know down in the comments if there's a better way to do this, because I genuinely don't know and I was kind of just winging it, but this seemed to work decently well. Now that we're past all the points in the video where I look like a dumbass, we got the simplest task ever. I got to remove this weird pegboard thing that's just gross and it's moldy, but there was a little bit of annoyance. There's this like switch that I need to get rid of, so I went ahead and just cut it because I just needed it out of the way. Well, I guess I'm not done looking like a dumbass. Did not realize that was live. But, man, it just gets worse. So, I'm standing here not knowing what to do. And then I was like, oh, well, I just tripped the breaker, so it's probably not live anymore. Yeah, I was wrong. It was still live and it touched the metal stud and fireworks. Not my finest moment. Not my finest month, if we're being honest. Well, there's nothing else to do but tear down the rest of this dang pegboard. Now that that's out of the way, I can go ahead and tear off all this drywall. This drywall was really damaged because there was a leak in the roof that is now fixed, but drywall basically just had to be removed. And I thought while I was at it, might as well raise that little case opening, because then I'll be able to fit the forklift in it. I also think it'll look better, so let's go ahead and do that. Now when I say these 2x4s were rotted and covered in bug holes, I mean, I was able to squish it like a sponge. It was absolutely disgusting, so I was happy to cut these out because everything above it actually didn't seem to have that much damage. It just seemed to be this main part that was touching the metal. Speaking of metal, I had to remove this big chunk, and to do that, I just used my multi-tool with a titanium blade and cut it, which kind of hurt, but worked. And for some reason, society won't let me leave these giant holes in my walls, so now I have to rebuild them. So to do that first, I gotta reframe it because there was pretty much just no framing. It was just drywall hanging in air, hence why it broke so fast. So I had to cut away all these screws, that way I could slide this 2x4 actually into the wall. That way it'll sit more flush. And this time I was smart enough to wear my face shield. Now that 2x4 is sliding in nice and flush, I'd take my laser level and plumb it out, and I'm just gonna tack it in place for right now because I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna tie in with the other side. So I went ahead and threw up the 2x4 on the other side, and I laid this one flat because there was two 2x4s already there, so I just kind of had to pack it out. And right here is when I realized that those aren't going to quite line up. It's about an inch and a half too far out. So I'm going to take out that original 2x4 and go ahead and put in something a bit wider. Now I know this is pressure treated. You're not supposed to use pressure treated indoors, but it's all I had that was wider, so whatever. And after nailing in these spacer blocks, this was sturdier than a sailor's legs. Now I need to repeat the same process for the top. And this didn't take long at all. All I had to do was nail a bunch of 2x4s. That way I had a spot to screw the drywall onto. And I'm really glad I did this. I think being able to drive the forklift into this room is going to be really important because I want to keep some machinery in this little room. Alright, so when this was originally framed out, this stud should have been two studs. Seems like they tied in this wall, or this drywall, and the other wall into that. So I'm going to add in one more stud here, that way I have plenty of room for my drywall to lay and be supported. And then I'm just going to attach it to these metal studs that go across. So let's do that. It became painfully obvious why this drywall failed in the first place. There was nothing supporting it, like anywhere. It was just mostly air. Now it's my turn to fix those mistakes. I don't think I have a knife to cut this. Honestly, the most challenging part of doing this entire remodel was just not having any of my tools. Like, almost everything that I have except for like 3 pack outs are still at the French Broad shop. And it was just so frustrating because I know that I would be able to do all of this stuff way faster and way easier and be able to keep my sanity if I just had all my tools. But if I bring all my tools up, then they'll be completely in the way. And you can really see the stress on my face. Moving on to the back side, I went ahead and slapped on some drywall, but unfortunately the piece was a little too short and I was feeling a little lazy. So I cut a really small sliver, as you can see here, and was able to actually sink a screw in it. So it ended up working fine, just threw a ton of mud on it, and nobody will ever know until it cracks like a year from now. But that's a problem for future Ty. And I should probably address the elephant in this room. Yeah, that entire sheet of drywall had a big crack in the middle, but we got it for free, so I'm not going to complain about it, and it's nothing a little mud can't fix. I threw up these 2 other pieces of drywall, and that concludes all of the drywall that I have to replace. Yeah, there's no more damaged drywall anywhere. There definitely won't be any more drywall demo or replacement in the next episode, and I won't have to go to landfill again, I promise. Now, I've never had a mud on a corner onto drywall before, so feel free to destroy me in the comments and tell me that I'm a horrible person for not knowing everything about everything. But this is how ChatGPT explained to me how to do it. You basically put on mud, wipe it down thin, add the corner, and then add a bunch of mud on top of it, and then spread it thin, and then add a second layer of mud. That's probably not super accurate, but hey, it worked pretty dang well. I kept sanding the mud too much though, which will be a future problem in the next episode. Yeah, that was pretty painful. But for the rest of this, I just kept adding mud and more mud, and then I let it dry and added more mud, and then sanded it, and then let it dry and added more mud and sanded it. Basically, I just mudded this entire corner because the other drywall has plaster. And if you enjoyed this video, then please check out the last video, and please stay tuned to this next video by hitting that subscribe button right there. Thank you guys for joining, and enjoy your hobbies.